thanks to our sponsor, Orange Theory. And we also want to say thanks to our guest who is joining us today on the show. Her name is Dr. Kim, and she is works and is the, well, I don't want to, are you the founder of the Vita Center?
Yes, I'm the founder and co-CEO. Yes.
Okay, she's the founder and co-CEO of the Vita Center. You would have thought I would have asked that ahead of time, right?
It's okay.
But welcome on the show.
Thank you.
And we are going to be talking a lot today about health in relation to your social media. The more healthy that you are, the better that you look, and the more hits you're going to get on your Facebook and those kinds of things. And again, one of the things I just kind of want to begin the show with, and then I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Kim, who is definitely a specialist in helping everyone become healthy, is that across all cultures, what they have determined is that there are different. I mean, even in the United States, what we used to determine as beautiful were Marilyn Monroe types who were very full and voluptuous. And now we have these, 2% body fat. I'm kidding. Probably more like 7% body fat and supermodels that have nothing but they're string beans, right, and 6 foot tall and the whole thing. And that's what we tend to feel is beautiful today. The Gwyneth Paltrow's, might be a little bit more Angelina Jolie, that kind of thing. So, but the one thing that's common across all cultures and across all generations of time, as well as across all different parts of the world, is health. So what equates to beauty is health in both men and women. So that's the one commonality. So again, we're not trying to get you to become Angelina Jolie, Gwyneth Paltrow, nor Marilyn Monroe, nor Brad Pitt, nor Mr. Universe. But what we are trying to say is that the more healthy that you can become, the better of an appearance you're going to have, and the better draw you're going to have inside of the social media. And again, not because you're so sexy, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about just having an image that people will appreciate. That's the person behind that restaurant. I think I'm drawn to that very healthy person. That's the person behind that consulting company. I think I'm drawn to the way that person balances their life. So without having said much more, without saying much more, I want to welcome Dr. Kim onto the show. She's also an author, and I'm going to let her talk a little bit about herself so that you know her background here in this first segment, and then we're going to springboard off of that and bring other things to you as well.
Okay, hi, thank you. Well, I'm Dr. Liz Kim, I'm co-CEO of the Vita Center. Let's see, to me, feeling good is more, perhaps just as important or more important than looking good. People kind of use that interchangeably. They think, oh yeah, just because if I just lost a couple of pounds, I would feel better. Or I would, if I just look better. By the way,
is not about weight loss. She wanted me to make sure that was, even though I began that on Orange Theory, I have lost 7.5 pounds, and Dr. Kim has lost 100 pounds herself.
I have.
This show is not about weight loss. It's about getting healthy, and weight loss is a bonus. Is that a good way to say that?
Yeah, because, I mean, to me, as far as, we have different reasons why we eat. Honestly, our obesity, America is, let's just face it, America as a general statement, for the most part, we're obese. I mean, I don't like using this word because of my history, but because I have kind of an emotional attachment to the word fat, but a lot of us are.
And on behalf of Americans, I want to share with you that I was so offended when everybody, because I spent some time in Europe and everybody talked about those fat Americans, and they also said those fat lazy Americans. I'm not going to talk about the lazy side because we're more workaholic than anything else. So
that's true.
It's just that what fat is associated with many times is that you're not a hard worker. So remember that if you're going for a job interview, now you might want to make it not only about becoming healthy, but a little bit about weight loss. But that I deviate. Let's come back to the topic, which is that I was so offended by that, but if you look at the statistics, Americans as a whole are obese.
Right, and if we look at what it is, I mean, whatever disease is, when people think about what health is and what disease is, people right now, the conventional medical model leads us to believe that when we have a disease, even obesity or heart disease or diabetes or whatever it is, they think that disease is a thing. that's out to get you. You know, I got diabetes, or I have this, or I have this. No,
don't shake my hand. I might get cancer.
Yeah, like I have cancer, and you know, I actually specialize a lot in addiction medicine, and the vast majority of the patients that I see are in addiction or you know, with cancer patients and autoimmune diseases. These are just names. The word diagnosis itself actually comes from dia, which means to separate, and gnosis, which means to know. So they're just separating and knowing, which means to name something. Just because you name something, you know, what it is, it doesn't make it any different. You know, or it, you know, just because we call it cancer or hypertension, it doesn't make any changes. The whole thing is that the disease model nowadays, it feels like it's an entity that's coming to get you, or that your body is making a mistake. But the fact of the matter is that if we just knew that we come from, a lot of times we can agree that we come from a perfect place, that actually our bodies and our minds and our spirits are designed to function perfectly. And if we can do that, and if we knew how special we really were, our bodies aren't actually making a mistake. Nothing is coming to get us, per se. It's actually all of those symptoms and all of these diagnoses are just a way for us to name what's happening on behalf of us in the body to save our lives. So, like hypertension, for example, let's say we can go with obesity because that's what we were talking about.
Sure.
Let's say our brains are actually, our satiety centers, or the center in our brain that tells us, okay, you're full, you can stop eating now. That center is, in fact, actually not quantity-based, but quality-based. So that's why you can actually have little amounts of really nutrient-dense, living, wonderful food and not be hungry for a while. But you can eat something like a huge bag of potato chips, and an hour later you'll be hungry again. And so what's happening on the behalf of the body is that your body's going to continue to require the nutrients that it needs to sustain you. And if we're eating a bunch of non-nutrient dense foods, then we're going to acquire, as a side effect, as it were, a bunch of extra calories. Right?
So let me share, for example. I did not plan doing this, but what you see right here is my lunch. Now, people are going to take issue with my lunch, okay? But it does have some spinach and cabbage, and where some people may take issue is if they're vegetarian, for example, or vegan, it does have some chicken in it because you know, I tend to be working out and I want to build myself some protein inside. You know, with the protein I can build some muscle mass. But there's other ways to do it. Hemp protein was being discussed and other things. But it's more important what I am eating, which is the vegetables, than it is that I'm eating things like maybe chicken or maybe the matzo crackers, which are a whole wheat. So, you know, if I have a gluten intolerance, then maybe that's not a good thing. But I don't. And so it's more important that you get... And by the way, I am stealing this out of your ebook. Essentially, that's what you're talking about, right?
This is what's
so the
going
ebook, which tell us the name of your ebook?
It's called To Juice or Not to Juice. There is no question. It's going to be about the miracle of actually juicing, why we juice, why we eat what we eat, and why we're meant to have what we have. So these are all just details and tidbits from our book.
And people can go to the website to find the ebook?
Right now, yes, it's going to be actually, our webmaster is working on it right now.
Okay, so very soon. Go to the website, which is the Vita Center?
thevitacenter.com.
And Vitas is V-I-T-I-S.
Yeah, V-I-T-I-S, yep.
And just in case, for some strange reason, you get very, very antsy and you want to try to get the book ahead of time, what's the phone number to call your main office?
It's area code 602-307-0888.
Oh, wonderful. So tell us a little bit about the story, too, of what gave rise to, I want to go into holistic medicine?
Well, it was really simple, actually. I wasn't like one of those people who thought, oh my gosh, I always want to be a doctor because I want to go out and save the world and all of that stuff, which, although that's very valiant, I just wanted to become a doctor to help my parents. My parents weren't always healthy, and they've been told at one time or another that, that phrase, there's nothing more we can do for you. And that phrase has become the crux of my current practice. So it doesn't matter what dis-ease your body is what disease process your body is going through in its perfection to save your life. For example, like if you have, it doesn't matter. As long as they say, no matter what it is, if there's a doctor that came and said to them, there's nothing more we can do for you, we can get to work. Because that's something that I don't believe that anybody should say. There's always something you can do. You can pray for them. You can, you can meditate with them. You can hold their hand. You can sit in their space and hold space for their process. Whatever it is, but nothing is not an option. So when that happened, the second time for one of my parents, I was in the conventional medical program, and one of the supervising physicians was the doctor, and it stopped, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm trying to be like you, right? Because you're the one that's taking care of my parents. Well, there's nothing that you can do for them, well, what am I doing wanting to be you? So then I had to go.
And just been able to help many people along the way. So tell us where you got your degree and a little bit about your background.
Okay, so I actually my undergrad major was in biochemistry at the University of California, Riverside, and then I came over here after that whole thing.
Campus, by the way.
It is beautiful, yeah. And so I was in the biomedical sciences program, and I promptly, when I left there, I came to Tempe, Arizona, and I graduated in 2008 at the Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine. Hey, just shout out for my alma mater really quickly. All the naturopaths out there. And after that, the rest is history. I mean, we're running different addiction medicine clinics and different treatment centers help me understand that my own journey, what I'm learning about all of us is that, there's something that you told me about. You asked me, hey, what I've noticed is that naturopathic doctors are supposed to be, they're supposed to look the part, right? And they don't. What's up with that? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And I think it's because all of us are going through a process, and we're just humans. We're all humans. And I think that the universe has an amazing way of guiding us to healing ourselves. And whatever we need, and even if it's in our job, in our profession, that's what we need, and that's what we're led to. I mean, 100 pounds ago, that's what started this whole thing for me, was when I was the most unhealthy in my entire life during my naturopathic schooling. And it's like, and it was on April 1st, and that's the day I learned about 2 years ago that those scales that that aren't digital. I don't know if you remember that far back. That it's a wheel that turns when you get on the there's like a dial, right? Yeah. And when you step on it, they only go up to 300. I didn't know that. And this April 1st, about a couple of years ago, is when I knew, because I stepped on the scale and I weighed 4 pounds, and I was like, So I stepped off, and I was like, it's April Fool's Day. Maybe somebody messed with my thing. So I stepped down, and it zeroed out perfectly. And I stepped on again, and then I weighed 4 pounds. That was 304 pounds. And I couldn't believe it. It was like that. My scale couldn't handle me. Like the feeling, the devastation that comes when you realize, like,
mine was a picture, but yeah.
Everybody has that moment.
And they're like, I've had enough.
And the thing is I was sick. I was hypertensive. I had autoimmune diseases that were diagnosing me, and I was 20-something. And they told me, hey, you might not be able to have children. You have this disease and that disease. And I had to sit there and think to myself, oh my gosh, my body is dying. And I had to, and what I meant by that was it was working so hard to keep me alive when everything should just flow. What am I doing to get in my own way?
Absolutely, and that's what we're going to talk about when we come back from break, is how the Vita Center and the book that Dr. Kim has written, which is To Juice or Not to Juice.
There is no question.
There is no question. And if any of you have listened to my other show, Ageless Living, we did an entire, and Dr. Kim was a guest on that show as well. We dedicated a couple of shows to juicing, and the conclusion is that juicing is to become extremely healthy and to get rid of the dis-ease that may have kind of crept into your body. And then there's purposes for other things. So when we come back, we're going to talk about how you can become ultra healthy in a way that is fun and can be also tasteful at the same time. So don't go away. We'll be right back after the break. This is Kurt Wilhelm, the host of The Social Universe here on World Talk Radio Voice America, joined by Dr. Kim from the Vita Center. We'll be right back.